Moving on to the big cheese.
Khabib versus Gaethje.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so a lot of people were really betting on Gaethje. Gaethje was Khabib's kryptonite.
Yeah, I was betting on him as well. Well, I think we both said that Khabib will probably win, but it will be via decision, and Justin Gaethje will probably give him a run for his money. Did he? Not really.
Not really.
I didn't. I just feel like regardless of people saying, oh, everyone was sleeping on Justin Gaethje's wrestling ability and his ground game is really, really strong because he's been wrestling for a while, I feel like Khabib just walked all over him completely on the ground. If he got that submission in the first round, like 10 seconds earlier, he would have won.
Yeah.
His ground game was so fluid and so slick.
Khabib's pressure was just like the main point. His pressure, his wrestling, and then that first takedown. Before the takedown, Gaethje was connecting with some really good kicks, some really good right hands that were hitting flush, nice hooks, and then Khabib tries to take him down, and the way he defended that takedown was very good. You know, that impressive defensive wrestling style. Did very, very well, tucking his chin in, quickly moving away, disengaging, getting back into the stand-up. I thought Gaethje did well in the first round. And I think up to maybe the last takedown where Khabib was on him, you might have gave it to that round to Gaethje. It was a very close round.
Yeah. But Khabib's pressure was just so much. He was just walking through Gaethje's shots. Everyone thought that, Khabib's obviously going to try and wrestle with him, but he did. But he's going to try and avoid him. And Gaethje did a lot of running around in the first round. He was trying to stay away from the corner as much as possible because he knew that once he got too close to the corner, Khabib would just take him down and just push him against the corner and put him into a submission. Gaethje was expending a lot of energy in that first round, just trying to make sure kept moving, stayed close as he could towards the middle, stayed away from the ends.
He was trying his best he was trying to circle around the cage as quickly as possible. As soon as he felt like his back was too close to the cage, he was like, fuck, I've got to get around. And he would try and circle. But it does expend a lot of energy when you've got Khabib's pressure. And we already said this before the fight. Khabib's conditioning is very, very good. You know, the conditioning that they have at AKA is very, very good, especially with that ground and pound style. He doesn't get tired often. Not really. Gaethje in that first round, I believe he looked good in the first round. In the second round, it just started to change. You know, Khabib takes him down. What some people had noticed beforehand is Justin he was already anti-wrestling, but we've never seen him really. He doesn't often do submissions. Not that often. His ground control and his jiu-jitsu hasn't really been that shown in the UFC. So that was questionable as well. You know, Dustin Poirier couldn't do much about Khabib, and he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. A lot of people were really betting on Ferguson because Ferguson has that awkward style, that front kick, that push kick that keeps him at bay, out of that really close wrestling range, and the rubber guard and the no-gi Jiu-Jitsu under 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu would have been a really good tool in his arsenal.
Well, here's the thing now. After Khabib beat Gaethje via triangle in spectacular fashion, and then we had Khabib, it was a very, very emotional moment for him in the cage, and, you know, he said, no, let me give him a piece, and he was crying on the ground, and, you know, obviously because he lost his father, and he carried on without him, and then he said, look, this is it, hanging up the gloves now, you know, I'm done. I said to my mother, I won't go on without my father, you know, because his father had been there since the beginning. But one thing that's everyone's minds is Tony versus Khabib will never happen. And it's official. That card was cursed, and it was just never meant to be.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad because I would argue, we can have the argument right now about who the GOAT is, and right now, after everything that Khabib has gone through, like, he fought with a broken foot. Dana said 2 weeks before the fight he broke 2 of his toes, and he kept going on. And after losing your dad, and and he had an undefeated record. I gotta say, right now, I feel like Khabib is the number one for GOAT status. There's a lot of argument, but then again, a lot of people say, "Oh, Khabib's not the GOAT unless he fights Tony." But Tony's lost. So did that. When we were saying in the last podcast, I don't think the fight's going to happen anymore. I don't think it's worth it.
I wish it happened earlier. It's just it's a shame that it got stuffed. The main thing about Khabib versus Tony is it should have happened because it should have happened because of Tony.
Yeah. Because
Tony stylistically would have been the greatest mismatch for Khabib. But some of the blame falls on Tony too, because Tony could have waited, right? Instead, he chose to make weight anyway, and then fight Gaethje, who he lost to, because stylistically that didn't match up for him. In the striking game, Gaethje overpowered him, and he stole that. In the press conference, Gaethje actually said, "I'm not supposed to be here. Tony Ferguson is supposed to be here. But I stole his shot and I stole his soul." And that's what he did. He beat Tony. Tony probably should have waited. Yeah. Tony should have waited because, he'd been waiting so long for that title fight to be the unified lightweight champion. He should have waited. He really should have waited because he's the second interim lightweight. He's a 2-time interim lightweight champion. He should have waited because, yes, the fault is on Khabib because Khabib pulled out at one point for some reason. I think it was something. There was some reason Khabib pulled out, and there was another reason Tony Ferguson pulled out was also because he tripped as well on that loose wire. So maybe it's a cursed fight. Yeah. Maybe it's the blame of both of the fighters. It might just be one of those fights we never see. It is a shame. I would love to see that 30th fight of Khabib's career to be with GSP. Mm-hmm. A catch weight possibly, although the UFC doesn't like catch weights. The only thing I'm seeing how that could still materialize is because Dana has this respect for Khabib and says, look, he's done so well. It's a nice farewell. We'll do catch weight. Everyone knows Khabib. Everyone knows GSP. Let's have a really good fight. GSP's out of his prime. Khabib is in his prime. Doesn't matter. They should fight now.
Have a super fight.
They should have a super fight at catchweight, and I think it could work.